Greetings, everyone. Let me gather some soundbite before I get into today's message.
Starting June 1, 2023, the national minimum wage will increase from 9,000 per 40-hour week to 13,000 per 40-hour week.
Parliamentarians.
We sat in the cabinet and we agonized even whether or not we should even take any increase. Not something that we took lightly, because we know that there are persons who will try to make political fodder over it. As a country, what has plagued us is that we have treated the political class with schizophrenia and disdain. The truth is, you get the quality of governance that you elect, and every government is afraid to touch it, because if you touch it, people say you don't deserve it. Why we should pay you more, and the country not running well? The country not running well because of that very reason. You have chosen to have an underpaid political class. How must they deliver?
You chose to have an underpaid political class. How can they deliver? That's a very good question. If the Jamaican people were listening to their prime minister, I think they'll have the problems resolved. Because at no point has this man ever said anything to give anybody the impression that is about anything more than what he's already delivering. So I want you to go over to Rant in Patois. I'm going to put the link here because I got the soundbite from his channel. And the title of his video is Who's the Real Chopper? And so you'll be able to listen to it, because I think it's a very good video, because what it does, it breaks down the difference with other political parties in other countries when they compare how much politicians make in other progressive countries. It is shocking. It's alarming. Okay, so I'm going to put the link so you can check out his channel, his video. And if you have not already subscribed to that channel, I encourage you to subscribe. Now, I don't even know where to begin, because number one, he's made some statements, and the police, the teachers, the nurses, they should be listening, and they should be out in the droves. Unfortunately, at times like this, when people are standing up and demanding what is rightfully theirs, people will suffer. But at the end of the day, we can't just be afraid that two persons are going to suffer while the mass does. So the government is not doing anything wrong. He's grabbing the bag. He already claimed that he was here to create wealth. And we clearly see, since he's the Prime Minister of Jamaica, that he has gathered or amassed wealth for him and his friends. Now, I want you to understand that there is this great reset around the world. And so many things are changing. And, I guess the Prime Minister of Jamaica wants to be in the mix. So he doesn't care at any point, what happens to the citizens of Jamaica. He's doing what he's commanded to do in order to keep up. You see, the thing is, I keep hearing the Prime Minister of Jamaica comparing himself with other first world nations who have done the work, who have gone through the building at the foundation and promoting education and social assistance and infrastructure and jobs and education. But it's not about that life. It's about creating wealth for his combolos. He's saying that Jamaican people have a problem. They're schizophrenic. First of all, it's so disrespectful to be using the word schizophrenic to talk about people's true feelings about wanting a better life. So what he's essentially saying is the Jamaican people are mad. They're mentally insane for wanting more. What is your problem? And why can't we have what we want? So to increase these members of parliament salary to over 200% clearly demonstrate the disregard he has for the Jamaican people, because he's justifying getting this huge pay hike, but he fights the nurses and the doctors and the teachers and the individuals in the country, the real change agents. Teachers are responsible for educating every person, every career, every path. It's a teacher that does that. And he envies them and he feels that they don't have a right. And the common man that goes out there who has to work for minimum wage, who gets that wheel turning. The first part of the video, I think it was last year when he made that announcement that the minimum wage was going to move from 9 to 13,000. When was the last time you went to Jamaica? 13,000 for 40 hours. 13,000 can barely get you one bag of grocery, a bread, maybe a pound of flour, 2 pounds of flour, some meat, if you're lucky. Imagine spending 40 hours getting out of your bed at 4 a.m. in the morning, because there are times when that's the time people have to leave their home to go to work. And a family of 3 or 4 having to live on that. That man couldn't go to any restaurant of his choice and buy food for 13,000. When I go to Jamaica, I like to go to Elsha Beach. I couldn't buy a fish. I don't think I could get a fish, one fish for 13,000. Or if I do, barely. One meal. This is evil. This is beyond wicked. But the truth of the matter is, he's able to do it. He can do it because the Jamaican people are allowing it. He hates social media and he loves it too. He loves to use social media when he's coming out to make himself look cool, but he hates it when people speak the truth. But we don't need him to say all that he has to say for us to see that this is how it's been. You see, they live out the true essence of the Bible when they said the richer get richer and the poorer get poorer in Jamaica. And I want people to understand that every time there are these big changes, every time stories are about to come out, because they know when people start asking certain questions, the little things that they think is hidden is going to go forward. They always, do you know that they actually pay dancehall artists to come out and start feud with each other, to distract the people from the story, to water down the truth of what's happening? So when someone comes out or if the story breaks and people start getting upset, then there's a big distraction, mix up, people cussing each other. Ladies in dancehall, first and foremost, before going any further, don't allow these individuals to pay you to do what you're doing on social media. It's a disgrace. But some of you don't care. It's going to reach you. To my supporters, you remember I used to say that there's going to come a time when people want to go to Jamaica and they won't be able to go. We see what happened when the world was locked down. People were stuck there, couldn't leave, and people claimed that they could never stay in Jamaica more than a week. They were stuck there and they couldn't leave. And then there are people who wanted to go badly and they couldn't. Jamaica is my home. It doesn't matter how long we leave. It's our home, our birthplace. And as much as we have citizenships in other places, if you look in your passport, they're going to make it very clear that you're not from that place. So you might gain citizenship, but you're always reminded where you come from. And so as Jamaicans, we have to talk. And you say, well, We're listing the problems. We're talking about this man always calling this prime minister's name, this, that, and the other. He doesn't care. He does not care. In fact, the more you talk about him, the worse he gets. Now, how many years ago did I expose this individual to say, this is a very important person to take notice of? People are hungry. Children are going without. And during your suffering, these guys find it fit to raise their pay to a substantial amount of money with no regard or no respect. And at the same time, sending out subliminal threats to people about falling in line with all the changes that are coming. But who do you blame? A shark is a shark. If the shark is put in a space where he sees his food, he's going to get it. It's up to the people who are the meal to take away themselves. And we're not talking about running away from Jamaica. That's not the solution. Because many of you run away from Jamaica and you go elsewhere and your life is worse. So why not fight for what is yours? How can you justify these individuals that have not done anything except cause suffering to the Jamaican people? How could you justify them taking this huge pay hike, even as you struggle? Teachers have to beg and borrow to get to work. Police officers have to become choppers to make ends meet. I'm not justifying it, but I'm just telling the truth. Hospitals, doctors, nurses have to cut corners, sometimes go to work with the worst attitude, because imagine you're dealing with all that stress. These jobs are stressful. Teachers, police, nurses, these jobs are high pressure jobs, extreme stress. And you can't go out for dinner once per month. Forget about going out for dinner. You can't prepare a healthy, balanced meal at home. And this man is looking you straight in the face and telling you, oh, the reason why the country is not, this man is a liar. The reason why the country is not running smoothly is because you don't want to pay. Okay, well, you deserve all the pay after you pay those who are actually working. Because the only thing I see these political figureheads doing is destroying the nation and the people. It's heartbreaking. This man has no conscience. Like Andrew Olness, sir, I'm trying to figure out if someone is forcing you to do these things, because it can't be real. Unless you have some DNA from our former oppressors, something isn't right. Something is very wrong. How can anybody with fair conscience, like, really do this? Really have the audacity to open your mouth and say that the political people have been underpaid, when, if you look at the video that I'm referring you to, it clearly shows that Trinidad or Tobago or Bahamas or any of these other places, if they're making 9 million a year, Jamaican make 20 something million. These are on their way to developing nations. These places, for example, like Trinidad, you know the difference between a Canadian dollar and a Trinidadian dollar? And then you compare that to Jamaican dollar. These economies that are clearly growing, their members of parliament don't make those kind of money. And in the country that I live, of Canada, there's absolutely no way the hard citizens of this country would be suffering so much, even as their people, their political figureheads or political leaders would get those kind of increases. So I'm going to say that as a person who consider myself to be very spiritual, I think there is some kind of spell that is cast over the Jamaican people. You know, they're okay with being subservient. They're okay with, you know, these few. It's a handful. The member of parliament is a handful of people compared to the millions that live in Jamaica. How would they get away with something like that? Because guess what? We're all talk. We talk a lot, more talk than action. So these people have always recognized the weakness in our people. And they know that they can do whatever they want. Nobody's going to hold them accountable. We'll just talk for a couple of days and then we're silent. They're not paying any attention to you. They just don't care. In fact, you know, we know we have to be careful. And I know people are scared now, you know, because they know that they're threatened by law enforcement. But I'm speaking to law enforcement in Jamaica and I'm saying to myself, don't let these rich people, these people with their rich badness, cause you to turn on your own country folk. Remember, even as they're using you, they are violating you. They're withholding. Many of you can't even afford homes. Many of you can't send your children to school. You still struggle. Many of you have to resort to criminal acts. You don't have vehicles when you get calls, when you don't have the proper equipments. Even though I see things unfolding about how, you know, this big AI that JCF is now going to be using to solve crime, it looks pretty on paper. Remember, officers, you're the ones going out there and jeopardizing your well-being and your safety. For who? For what? It's going to take civil servants to come out and put an end to this nonsense. Police, soldiers, nurses, teachers. You are the powerful ones, not these political people. The power lies in your hand. You could shut down that nation. And if they're going to be living big and large, even as their foot is against your necks, it's time for you to act. It's called solidarity. Civil servants come together. People of Jamaica join forces together. Instead of using these platforms to cuss out each other, look at how these things are going to affect you, and it's going to get worse. And if at any point another nation of people were to demand that he does things that could potentially destroy you and yours, he will go for it. This is a warning. See, I'm very angry, but I have to subdue that anger. Because there's no point in anger if you're not going to use it to create changes. 200 to 300% increase and justify that, and at the same time deny civil servants their right to living wages, because that's all it is. The people are not asking for anything but living wages. Some people have to say, what's the point in going to school or gaining an education? What is the point in living straight, going the right way, not breaking the law, when the ones who are in the position to maintain the law constantly break it every day and constantly hold you as ransom? Jamaican people, come on. It's time to let go of fear. See, he doesn't care at this point. He doesn't care if he wins or not. This is his punishment. What are you going to do about it? Do you see how many kids are in Jamaica going hungry with parents who actually work? The typical Jamaican has become a beggar. People who would have the pride and would work hard and just satisfy what they have now learned how to just, use their situation, their storyline. People have lost that will, that sense of pride from working hard for what is theirs, because it just seemed like it doesn't make any sense for you to do so. Because when you look around you, you see those who are undeserving living some great life. People are not even pushing their kids to excellence anymore because they're like, why? There are people who have degrees on top of degrees and have no work. And then you got people who could come on social media and just be brawling and disgusting, and they're pulling down a bag. So the morals of the people have changed because we allow the ones who we elect to run amok, to chop, chop, chop. And then if you make the mistake of uttering something that they don't like, they silence you. It's really horrible, and it's very sad and very scary. It doesn't make any sense you dig up any file for these ones, because they just look at you and only you can stop it. Only you can put an end to it. $200% increase. And have the audacity to be saying that the political people have been underpaid. First and foremost, before I go, these people don't leave office. They're gonna have to draw them out, their carcass out of, whichever house they're in or parliament building. And before they go, they make sure they set up their family members. It's a family business. Politics in Jamaica is family business. It's using government and taxpayers' money for their own livelihood and to build wealth, create wealth for their families. Don't you see? Are you blind? You think they see you or care for you? You're the dregs of society as far as this man is concerned. He's an elitist. He's always been. And the only interest he has is to creating wealth. And he always said that. But you were silly enough to think that the wealth he was creating was for you. He didn't lie. But you don't ask questions. When these people come out, when they're looking for votes and stuff like that, you don't ask questions, man. They just come, say a lot of things and appeal to your emotions. And you just let it slip. It's going to get worse until you decide enough is enough. Stay blessed, everyone.